Join him. All this week, Newsmax is featuring its special Mike Huckabee's Christmas in America. Even President Trump joins Mike to talk about Christmas. Plus, see Mike's special guests, John Voight, Dr. Ben Carson, Sarah Sanders Huckabee, Benjamin Netanyahu, and more. Watch Newsmax for Mike Huckabee's Christmas in America as he discovers the real meaning of the holiday. Find Newsmax on major cable and streaming services and help make Christmas great again.
What are your 2022 business goals? Simplified IT? More security? Dell Technologies has the expertise to help you. From transforming your digital workspaces to providing comprehensive end-to-end IT solutions. Get high-performance computers featuring Windows 11 Pro with powerful hardware-based security and savings up to 45% during Dell's New Year event sale. Get special financing through Dell Financial Services. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
The number of Americans applying for unemployment benefits was unchanged last week,
remaining at a historically low level. It reflects the job market's recovery from the coronavirus recession last year. Jobless claims remained at 205,000, and the 4-week average, which smooths out week-to-week ups and downs, rose to just over 206,000. The weekly claims numbers are a proxy for layoffs and have fallen steadily most of the year.
Fox's Salgi and Grasso. Universal Orlando is reinstating its mask requirements beginning tomorrow as COVID-19 cases are surging. Daily cases of coronavirus have quadrupled in the past week in Florida, with hospitalizations up 12%. Universal Orlando says masks will be required at all public indoor locations and at all attractions from the moment guests enter the lines to when they leave. Walt Disney World hasn't announced any decision to reinstate face coverings at this time. Rising coronavirus cases don't appear to be affecting Americans' holiday travel plans.
From highways to airport runways, holiday travelers out in full force. Even as COVID-19 cases surge, the lines at airport security keep on growing. The TSA says at least 2 million travelers across the country have been screened each day. According to AAA, more than 109 million people are traveling from December 23rd through January 2nd. That's up more than 30% compared to holiday travel in 2020. The director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reminding everyone to celebrate the holiday safely.
Fox's Alexa McAdams. Under pressure from U.S. auto safety regulators, Tesla has agreed to stop allowing video games to be played on center touchscreens while its vehicles are moving. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the company will send out a software update so the function called passenger play will be locked and won't work while the vehicles are in motion. The move comes a day after the agency announced a formal investigation into that system. I'm Rich Dennison, and this is Fox News.
Skies will go mostly cloudy as we head throughout your evening with southerly winds between 10 and 20, gusting to 25. We'll hang on to the breeze tonight as we drop down to a low of 27 with a slight chance for a wintry mix or some freezing drizzle between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., but mostly in the northern valley. We'll have a morning high in the mid-30s on Friday, followed by falling temperatures into the teens by the evening with northwest winds 10 to 20, gusting to 35, and snow showers over Christmas. From the Flag Skywatch Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Justin Storm.
Diamond earrings, diamond pendants, diamond bracelets, ruby rings, sapphire rings. Come to a cutting edge. The holiday season is here, and the way this works, the more you buy, the more you save. You get 20% off the first piece, 25% off of 2, 30% off of 3 or more. If you want to spoil the lady in your life, now is the time to do it. Birthday, anniversary, Christmas, you can take care of all of them. And don't forget Valentine's Day. A cutting edge, 4507 33rd Avenue South, Fargo.
One more time, got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate and dance so free. One more time, you just got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate.
The Chris Berg Show, where faith and freedom reign.
One more time.
Some breaking news here to start off on this Thursday before the holiday, Christmas. Kimberly Potter, former Brooklyn Center police officer, found guilty on both charges. First-degree and second-degree manslaughter charges for the shooting and killing of Dante Wright. You may remember the story where they had pulled over Dante Wright. He tried to get away from the cops. She said she was looking for a taser. She grabbed her firearm, fired, and we lost Dante Wright. So she is found guilty on both first- and second-degree manslaughter charges. That happened just earlier today. We'll keep you abreast of that. And we've got an incredible special guest coming up at the bottom of the hour of the show. And by the way, welcome to the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free. Help set you free. We're coming to you live from the PetroServe USA studio, helping you and America fuel better. As you're heading out for the holidays and you got to stop somewhere, maybe you just need some snacks or some food for the road. And of course, you want to gas up, please be sure and stop into your local PetroServe USA and grab some gas and your goodies on the way. We're already rhyming. Joining me in studio right now, Mr. Scott Hennon, the host of, and I love to say it this way, What's on Your Mind Radio here on AM 1100 The Flag. You can catch him 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. every single weekday. He just got back from Arizona, had an incredible time down there with Charlie Kirk. He put on an event with Tucker Carlson, and you name it, these people were there. So we're going to get a chance to hear from Scott on what that event was like and what the conversation was about when you look at what's happening right now in our nation and some of the tyranny and the fascism taking place. And yet when you look at the polling, whether it be the Latinos or general ballot or things that are happening, as long as the GOP doesn't completely screw it up, you got to believe that you're going to see a majority in the House of Representatives with the GOP, possibly even in the Senate as well. And I've said it once, I will say it every single day until these elections are over. You think things have been crazy now as far as lockdowns, loss of freedom, things of that nature? Folks, you got to remind yourself and remember that impeachment starts in the House. And there is a very, very strong possibility that the GOP, again, will take over the House, thus can start the articles of impeachment. If you think things have been rough now, we ain't seen nothing yet. When we talk about it here on the show, please be sure that you are taking care of your neighbors, people in your community, because things are going to get absolutely bonsai crazy in 2022. Before we introduce Scott Hennon, I want to let you know, coming up at 4:30, please, right now, take some time to text all your friends, call all your friends and family, and let them know. Coming up at 4:30, Dr. Peter McCullough is going to join us here live on the Chris Berg Show. I'm sure you know that name by now. He was recently on the Joe Rogan podcast. It's 3 hours, and every single minute, you were just riveted like, wait, what did he just say? 97% of the asymptomatic tests are false positives? What? Well, you're telling me that if we would have just had like early treatment for all these COVID deaths, we wouldn't have one COVID death? He suggests that we would have saved all 800,000 Americans if we would have just used early treatment in this COVID situation in our nation. So it is a stunning, stunning interview. And again, he'll join us live at 4:30 today. So please let your family and friends know Dr. Peter McCullough right here on the Chris Berg Show. Scott Hennon, welcome to the show. Happy Friday Eve, I call it, right before Christmas. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Same to you, sir.
Your reaction to Kimberly Potter being convicted?
It's disgusting in my mind because it's very obvious that it was a mistake. She knew it was a mistake from the very beginning. She yelled taser, taser, taser. All along it was a mistake. Now you got to put yourself in the fact of who made the mistake. It was a law enforcement officer who was out there to save lives, right? And she was, by doing what she did, responding to a criminal with a past history who wasn't listening, who put himself in harm's way by not listening, and the fact that he was not cooperating with the arrest, not listening, and the other officer, her partner, was in the vehicle. This guy's about to take off. So I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted by the judge. I'm guessing. I don't know. A lot of people are applauding the jury. I'm not going to applaud them. I think they didn't want a mob. And the only good news out of this is Minneapolis won't burn again this weekend.
I thought the same thing. I mean, the good news is you're not going to see the riots that you would probably anticipate. At the same point in time, you still lost a young man. And again, I'm not in law enforcement, but the one thing that I always struggled with, and my understanding is the jury had a chance to evaluate her firearm and evaluate her taser. When I do talk to people in law enforcement, they're like, yeah, there's a pretty big distinction between a firearm and a taser.
Whoa, wait a minute. Though. I hate those Monday morning quarterback acts when it comes to law enforcement. Put yourself where she was at that moment. Put yourself in that moment every day for a law enforcement officer. Every traffic stop, the pressure that's there. Now, mind you, imagine the adrenaline goes up when a guy doesn't listen. You know, it's already a bad actor, if you will. You got an officer trying to get at him one way. He's not listening. Now you got to come in the other way. You think you are in the heat of the moment are going to grab it. Oh, yeah, that's the wrong handle. I think I'll grab the other handle and, oh, that one was there. This one should be there. Come on. This is why I think manslaughter was a ridiculous charge. I think this was someone that should have been dealt with appropriately by the agency that she worked for. But the idea this is criminal is disgusting to me. Disgusting.
So what do you think should have happened?
I think she should have been reprimanded by her agency. Law enforcement officers make mistakes and they're dealt with. This is not manslaughter. And then the judge doubles down by saying, whether you're a harm to anybody or not, we're going to lock you up right now. So much for Christmas. Well, I have no choice here. The law says, you have a choice. That's why you're a judge. Otherwise we don't need judges, right? Let's just look at the code and decide what you get and what you don't. It sickens me to the core.
So I want to talk to that in a moment. And first, let people know as well, Keith Ellison was part of the prosecution for this, and he came out of the verdict today and said, hey, because right now, first degree manslaughter in Minnesota is 7 years, second degree is 4. They're going to try to raise those numbers on her.
Yeah, there's a big surprise. Keith Ellison wants his name in the paper some more.
So let's go back to the judge, though. Because I'm sure you followed the story to Albert Lee, the woman that opened up her restaurant under the executive orders and is going to spend 90 days in jail. That judge, kangaroo court, wouldn't allow Constitution to be used in his courtroom. And he also said, I'm going to make an example of you to the community so that everybody knows that executive orders are laws. My point is, do you think this judge is trying to make a statement saying, hey, we're going to lock you up now. We're going to make a statement to the law enforcement community that this cannot happen anymore?
I don't know if that's it. I think the judge didn't want anybody on her lawn over Christmas, and if she had veered, if she would have been in the Christmas spirit to say this woman means no one harm. There's not a threat to the community. She's already given us $100,000 bail. She's not going anywhere. We can't get this next tranche of the proceedings on a sentencing until what they were talking about March today. Let her go home. It's ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And it's a kangaroo court. It's what it is.
That's exactly what's happening in Minnesota. There are so many shocking stories coming out of Minnesota. So let's talk about some good news here. Again, if you're just joining us, first and foremost, coming up at 4:30, we're going to have Dr. Peter McCullough joining us. He was just on the Joe Rogan podcast, 3 hours, absolutely riveting and incredible.
Can I say this
podcast
about him? Because I don't know, but you hear this, you hear a doctor these days and you think, okay, crackpot, the real deal. What are their credentials? And just because somebody is a doctor or anything doesn't mean necessarily anything. This guy has credentials beyond reproach, right? He's an academic, Baylor, Texas A&M, but he's been published more than anybody in the world on on lung and heart issues. Okay. So he's not some Johnny come lately with doctor on it. This guy is like wicked smart. Okay. Really smart. So, when he says things like, I believe that not only was there, sort of a campaign against the therapies, there was a purposeful, creepy, evil, silencing, shut down, big tech, go away, you're bad. And that's the worst part of this. It's not even that, okay, well, one doctor says ivermectin, do what you got to do. The other one says, no, you're not going to get that filled anyway. So just go home and take an aspirin, call me in the morning, whatever. It's the silencing. It is the cover up like anything. That to me is what is the worst of this. And he's saying it.
Scott brings up an incredible point. In case you missed the show yesterday, you can always go to our website, am1100theflag.com, go to the show archives and watch it. Also, if you're into podcasts, just like the Chris Berg Show podcast, and I bring all this up because yesterday we talked about one of the things that Dr. McCullough talks about within this Joe Rogan podcast is that there's a new book. He's a child psychiatrist in Los Angeles named Mark McDonald, and the title of the book is did you hear about this? The United States of Fear, How We Fell Prey to a Mass Delusional Psychosis. And he basically just says, look, people have got to get out of the spirit of fear and get into a spirit of faith, love, power, hope. And so we're going to visit with Dr. McCullough a little bit about, so you think this is planned? I think the one question we all have is, okay, if that's the case, what's next in their plan?
And by the way, he's not saying he's been vaccinated. He's saying initially he thought, okay, we got to do this. A lot of this information has come later, where he said, there was gaming of this before we even heard the word COVID, right? So I guess my point is, he didn't go into this saying this is people going from the very beginning on the vaccine. He's saying all this cover-up stuff came later. So I'm with you. I don't necessarily, my question is, what is the motive here? Okay, why was there a cover-up? Knowing the therapies are there, why is there a, creepy vaccine mandate? Everybody must from birth to death have it. What's behind that? I've not heard him say that. Have you? I'd like to know that.
Well, I'm going to play a clip for you in the next segment to give you an idea of what he perceives is going on as far as some of that conversation. But again, I think that's why I go to the psychology of fear, the United States of fear. I think he will say to you, look, we are now under this. He calls it a spell. I mean, last night on the show yesterday, we talked about how he talked about every faith leader, every world leader is literally under this spell, this psychosis of fear. And again, that's why when we invite you to come here onto the Chris Berg Show, we say this is where faith and freedom reign. And it's so critically important that we have a spirit of love, power, and a sound mind.
Critical thinking is missing in a big way everywhere. It's not taught even anymore. And I think critical thinking keeps you from being fearful. The other thing you mentioned last week, actually wrapped up Tuesday, Turning Point USA, Phoenix, Arizona. The great thing about that, 10,000 people there. And the message was good over evil. And it is evil. Vaccine mandates are evil. There's no other way to say it. Okay, the vaccine, you decide what's best for yourself. Get all the information you can. Joe Rogan podcast or Dr. McCullough, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. books, whatever you decide you want to read. The Fauci book, take your pick. But you decide what's best. When somebody else is deciding for you, that crosses a line into evil. And the message Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson and all these people at this conference over 4 days set in front of these kids, high school and college students, 10,000 strong, was you have to be fearless. And you can't worry about what somebody else thinks to be fearless. You have to realize there is all kinds of agendas behind why that fear is. And so many of your peers just follow blindly. So I think there's a revolution coming with youngsters. And, it might not be here yet, but it's building. And certainly it was inspiring to watch it there for sure.
It's so great to hear you say that, because we've kind of told with the idea here on the show of saying, hey, be a rebel.
Yeah.
Listen to the Chris Berg Show. And I say that because you and I both know this, Scott.
Blind Joe!
We will not comply and be a rebel. And I use that reference not to be a rebel and go break laws. I say be a rebel because that's what happened with the Boston Tea Party back in 1773, 1775. It was the rebels that created the revolution to break away from tyranny.
Your mantra is to be a rebel. What's on your mind is question everything, and they go well together.
Question and that's why you and I are sitting here together.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, if there's anything else that Scott wants to add about what took place in Arizona, and I want to play for you an extremely powerful clip from the Joe Rogan, Dr. Peter McCullough interview in regards to what's next when it comes to big pharma and cash, and what is this really about? And then at 4:30 again, please, when we take this break, call your family and friends and let them know Dr. Peter McCullough is going to join us here live, 4:30, right here on the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free.
Gift wrap your home this holiday season in any color of the rainbow. Whether it's window treatments, shades, wood finishes, wallpaper, or paints and supplies, Hirschfield's has everything you need to spruce up your home. Our team of trusted experts are here to help answer all your questions and help make your decorating dreams come true. Everyone here at Hirschfield's would like to thank you for your continued business and wish you a Christmas full of happiness and cheer. Hirschfield's, your color experts.
The radio playing your favorite Christmas songs, that special Christmas outfit, and love is in the air with all the sights and the sounds of Christmas. Smith Auto Repair wishes you the same and more this Christmas season, in the hope that family and friends over to the house and that special Christmas dinner all coming together for a holiday to remember. Merry Christmas from all of us at Smith Auto Repair.
Hi there, Teresa from the Fargo Red Wing Shoe Store. I'd like to thank you, the hardworking men and women, for supporting our small business, because we couldn't do it without you. So thank you, each and every one of you, for helping us have this memorable year. It's been our pleasure to help you. If you've never worn Red Wing boots, stop in and see what we're all about at 3003 Main Avenue in Fargo. Red Wing Shoes for ultimate durability.
This holiday season, Luther Family Buick GMC would like to thank you for your continued patronage. The holidays are the perfect time to reflect on all the blessings we've received from our amazing community, as well as the various ways we've enjoyed giving back this year. Getting to work with our loyal customers again throughout the year has filled our team with joy. We've also been thrilled to welcome new smiling faces to our Luther family. From all of us at Luther Family Buick GMC, have a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays from the team at Fevig Oil and Propane. We're sending you warm holiday wishes and would like to thank you for letting us keep you warm by serving your oil and propane needs this past year. Being family owned and operated for over 60 years, we wanted your family to know how much we appreciate your business. Merry Christmas to all from Fevig Oil and Propane. Always striving to be better today than we were yesterday.
Hey, Chris Berg, it's 4:23 p.m. That means you've got just a few hours to get that special package for that special someone. And as we've been talking about the last few weeks, help me help you be a hero this holiday season. Guys, if you're like me, you wait until the last minute. So we're going to make you a hero this holiday season. And all you got to do is just run down to a cutting edge gallery of jewelry. Go see my buddy Jeff there. He knows rocks inside and out, so he can get you the best bang for your buck right there and make a great investment. And the nice thing is you get it all wrapped up. You come home, you slide it under the tree. And then all of a sudden, when it gets opened up, you are a hero this holiday season. Right now, Jeff's got a special where you buy 3 items, get 30% off. Buy 2 items, get 25% off. And then buy 1 item and get 20% off. Anything in the store, so you can get some earrings, some bracelets, some necklaces, whatever's going to work for you to make you a hero this holiday season. A cutting edge gallery of jewelry. It's on 45th Street, right in between like 32nd, 33rd Avenue. Big, beautiful building. Go say, hey, Jeff, Chris Berg told me to come see you right now.
Do you hear what I hear? Do you hear what I hear? Ringing through the sky, shepherd boy. Do you hear what I hear? Do you hear what I hear? A song, a song.
Welcome back to the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free. Joining me right now in studio, Scott Hennon, host of What's on Your Mind Radio, right here on AM 1100 The Flag. Coming up at 4:30, Dr. Peter McCullough is going to join us live, so it should be an absolutely just phenomenal conversation. If you're not familiar with him, Scott, I want to play a quick clip from the Joe Rogan podcast for our audience and for you. We don't have a lot of time here, but hopefully there's going to be a chance to give you some reaction. So listen to how Joe Rogan sets this up. And then I think it's really important to hear Dr. McCullough's response, because this man that we're going to hear from in about 5 minutes has got a tremendous amount of courage. I mean, the courage he has to stand for the truth he's sharing, to set us free, is absolutely incredible.
Pharmaceutical companies, it's been an insanely profitable year because of the vaccines. I have a real concern. I wonder if you share this concern that they're going to try to continue to make the same amount of money. And the best way to do that is to continue to encourage people to be vaccinated and to create new vaccines, even if they're not necessarily the right thing to do.
If it's about making money, I'd almost prefer the vaccines get full FDA approval. You know, none of the vaccines are FDA approved.
Right.
Wait, say what?
Even Pfizer's not FDA approved. That was a false talking point. Pfizer has a continuation of the EUA. BioNTech, which is not in the United States, got a biological licensing agreement. That still means they have to do a lot to get approved. They have to actually have a approved package insert. They have to commit to post-marketing studies on myocarditis. They have to give safety warnings on pregnancy. They're not there yet. So no product is approved in the United States.
Please hear what he is saying, folks. You and I talk about almost all the time here on the Chris Berg Show. This is the greatest show on earth in the history of mankind that you're watching right now. It is the biggest psyop in the history of mankind, or mass delusional psychosis. If you were to just watch the mainstream media, and Scott, I'll ask you, did you know that there's been no officially approved vaccine yet?
Yeah, again, the narrative in the media was there was an FDA approval, but it's not the traditional FDA approval. So he's technically right. They define approved as something else. There's just, again, question everything. Oh, it's approved. How is it approved? Is that different than all other vaccines have been approved? And Again, I would also add to this.
But my point is the PSYOP, remember, they approved it, and then it was shortly thereafter the mandate started to just go tick, 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 tick.
Yeah, right. And then it's not even an official approval, is what he's saying. Yeah. And I would say the same thing on the therapies, because, it's amazing to me that the therapies have been poo-pooed something horrible and even shamed by our own North Dakota Department of Health when it comes to, for instance, ivermectin. Yet, all of a sudden, Big Pharma, what are they doing now? Cranking out therapies. So might there be a motive behind that? A financial motive to say, not those therapies that are already out there. Let's do new ones.
Scott set this up. Listen to this, and then we're going to go to breaks. I want to make sure we give Dr. McCullough as much time as possible. Listen to, you mentioned this off air just a moment ago, Scott. Listen.
Emergency use authorized. Everybody needs to know that. Another false talking point, that Pfizer was approved on August 23rd, went all the way up to the President of the United States. Since when in history do we have false talking points issued out of FDA meetings that go up to the President of the United States? So they're not approved. Listen, everybody's entitled to make some money. What seems unfair about this?
Here it is.
What seems unfair about this is the government paid for the development costs. The government pre-purchased the products, even before they knew it was going to work or not work. And we know that with a new pharmaceutical company, a new product that was developed by a pharmaceutical company, whether it's a new company or existing company, we know a benchmark for a blockbuster drug would be $1 billion of sales in its first year. That's a benchmark. And typically half of that billion is spent on the sales force. There's a investment of billions of dollars in R&D. Do you know with the vaccines that Pfizer in its first year hit $33 billion?
Not surprised.
Is that enough of a money motivation for you, though?
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, wow.
Yep.
All right, folks, stay with us. When we come back, the one and only Dr. Peter McCullough is going to join us live right here on the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free.
It's time for number 9. Looking for a way to get to Frisco, Texas that doesn't break the bank? The Flag and Valley Bus have partnered with the North Dakota Petroleum Foundation for the Frisco Fan Bus. Here's the deal. Secure your seats today because the bus only holds 50 people. And when the seats are gone, they're gone. Go to am1100theflag.com right now and click on Hot Links. Package does not include a ticket to the game. The Frisco Fan Bus, brought to you by Valley Bus, North Dakota Petroleum Foundation, and AM1100 92.3 FM, The Flag.
Pain. It's much different than being sick or having a fever. Pain seems like it just never ends, like it's always there, always on your mind. This seems to be the common statement patients say when they come to Renew Medical Pain Clinic in Fargo. Meet the doctor that specializes in pain. Dr. David Hansen works with your current doctors and therapists for a plan to manage your pain and renew your life. Renew Medical Pain Clinic. Go to renewmedicalpainclinic.com.
Oh, come all ye faithful.
This Christmas season, our Shields family would like to take a moment to pause and recognize the people who surround us. We're grateful for the blessings of family and friends who support and guide us. From moms and dads, brothers and sisters, friends and neighbors, thank you for your kindness and care. From all of us at Shields, thank you and have a Merry Christmas.
If you're a home or business owner, you're aware of liability. Hi, Trinity here, owner of Trinspin. Having a camera system installed in your home or business many times provides the truth in a litigation against your company or your home. Falls, pet attacks, hit and runs, theft. Learn how to minimize your risk. Call Trinspin today at 701-361-0358 to learn more, or online at trinspin.com. Trinspin, your go-to for all things technology.
Hi there, Teresa from the Fargo Red Wing Shoe Store. I'd like to thank you, the hardworking men and women, for supporting our small business, because we couldn't do it without you. So thank you, each and every one of you, for helping us have this memorable year. It's been our pleasure to help you. If you've never worn Red Wing boots, stop in and see what we're all about at 3003 Main Avenue in Fargo. Red Wing shoes for ultimate durability.
If you need seed, think of ProSeed. Yes, go to proseed.net. Keith Peltier there does an outstanding job really helping our farmers increase their yields by getting the right seed in their field. Right now, this year, they've always got this really fun great. It's called the Right Choice Program. So when you go buy some seed from Proceed, so when you think seed, think Proceed, but they've got these great solo stoves and some Shields gift card, depending on what you want to buy there from Proceed to help increase your yields for the next growing season. Keith Peltier, huge Bison backer. So he's going to be enjoying some time and supporting us here as we head down to Frisco to watch the Bison win another national championship game. Again, if you need seed, think Proceed. Go to proceed.net. Again, that's proceed.net.
This is for the second chance. This is for the new romance. Sing it for the left in vain. Overcame. It's not too late. If you're looking for hope tonight, raise your hand. If you feel alone and don't understand, if you're fighting the fight of your life, then stand. We're gonna make it through this hand in hand. And if we
Welcome back to the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free. Dr. Peter McCullough is going to be joining us here any moment right now. We are finding out that he is just finishing up his clinic. So as soon as he jumps on our StreamYard, we will bring him in and start asking him some questions. And joining me now in studio as well, Scott Hennon, host of What's on Your Mind radio show. Yes, sir. You had your...
Well, he's finishing clinic, meaning he sees patients. Isn't that a novel concept with somebody who's an expert and wants to pass on advice related to the vaccine? Does Dr. Fauci see patients? I can't remember.
Yeah, and did you vote for Dr. Fauci?
I did not vote for him, no.
By the way, on this, when you come in the studio from 4 to 5, it's Saint Fauci.
Okay.
All right.
I'll remember that. Yeah. Yes.
So a couple of things that I think are important to note here. And maybe we just go from here, Scott, for you. The number one most important thing you want to hear from Dr. McCullough is what?
Well, I think he's been vaccinated. All right. So he obviously saw this as something that was a serious pandemic that we needed to do. I think he's unearthed some information after that to suggest that there's some really creepy things that have happened here. What's the motivation behind that? All right. As a guy that, knows this stuff backwards and forwards, sees patients, academic, Baylor, Texas A&M, quoted in books, written in book, most published guy in heart and lung issues in the medical field. He's not a crackpot. So how does he connect those dots? Obviously, from the clip he played, he doesn't like the game Big Pharma does to monetize everything. Donald Trump was involved in this. Donald Trump is now saying, even today.
So we're going to ask him that. So yeah, stick around because there is a brand new quote from President Trump in a recent interview with Candace Owens that I obviously want to get Dr. McCullough's reaction to, because I know there's a lot of people out there. A lot of people that support Trump, but even earlier this week, President Trump came out and said, yeah, I got the booster. And apparently he was at a live event with Bill O'Reilly when he made this announcement. Got booed.
Yeah.
Got booed. So, all right, Dr. McCullough is joining us now so we can bring him in. And Dr. McCullough, welcome to the Chris Berg Show. And I hope you hear us, sir. He's going to get his sound ready to go here. So hopefully that will, Chris, if you can help him out to get his sound set up. He's putting his earbuds in right now. And as soon as he can hear us and we can hear him, we will bring him into the show. So
we've I think, set him up with a proper introduction so people understand the level of expertise that is joining us on the show today with Dr. McCullough. So we're excited to have this
just
conversation.
testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Is this loud enough? Do I need?
Dr. McCullough, can you hear me okay, sir?
I can, but can you hear me?
You can hear me, so we just need to make sure that we can hear him. So if Dustin and Chris can work that out, and as soon as we get that figured out, we will bring him into the show here. And Dr. McCullough, as soon as you, if you want to just kind of start talking, as soon as we hear you, we will get ready to go.
Here's something.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Yes,
there we go.
Dr. McCullough, we can hear you. Can you hear me, sir?
Okay, good. Yes.
Right.
I put my computer up high just because when it's down low, the light from the ceiling, it makes it really hard. So I'm still in the hospital right now.
Sir, first and foremost, thank you so much for doing this interview, and thank you for having such courage to stand for the truth. As I'm sure you know, after your interview with Joe Rogan, millions and millions and millions of people across the world are extremely grateful to you. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So I want to start here. I've got a lot of questions for you, but there's a co-hosting with me by the name of Scott Hennon, so he may jump in as well. to ask some questions. But he and I were visiting, and I listened to probably 98% of your Joe Rogan interview. And one of the things that really jumped out to us was the fact that you suggested via the John Hopkins SPARS pandemic thing back in 2017 that you're starting to say, wait a second, this has all been planned out. This has been planned out. So if that thesis and theory is true, I guess what I would love to know from you, since you've been in it now so deep, what's next? Like, help our audience understand what's coming down the pipeline that we should be aware of.
It was either intentionally planned or it was just wonderful pandemic response, academic planning, if you will. But Johns Hopkins in 2017 said it will be a coronavirus. It will be related to MERS and SARS. They called it the SPARS pandemic exercise. They published an 80-page meeting proceedings. They had it on their website for years. When the real virus hit, they actually summarized everything and published 2 peer-reviewed papers on this. They said, listen, we called it. We absolutely called it. And now books have come forward. If anybody wants to see how Moderna and Pfizer and the companies were planning for a vaccine against COVID-19, they can read COVID-19 and the Global Predators. We Are the Prey. That's the name of the book. The first author is Peter Berg. It's completely factual. You'll see all the arrangements that were being made, the patents, intellectual property, all of that tied together. That's how we ended up with vaccines so quickly to address the COVID-19 pandemic. There was a tremendous amount of pre-planning going on.
So what is the end goal? What is why, if it was planned, what are they up to?
You have to ask them. It's obviously a consortium, and somebody needs to ask them what the plan is. I mean, I'm just a doctor fielding the response, and we've had a whole bunch of developments even since the Rogan interview. That what I told Joe Rogan was no different than what I told Tucker Carlson. I'm just, as a doctor, trying to take care of patients each and every day. I'm interpreting the information. I've always felt that this is a treatable disease. We have to treat it early to avoid hospitalization and death. And like all other doctors, I welcomed a safe and effective vaccine approach if we would have had safe and effective vaccines. But as so many Americans and people worldwide have found out, in fact, the vaccines are not safe enough and they don't work well enough to be compelled upon the population.
So, Dr. McCullough, you're reading my mind right now. I want to ask you this. President Trump just did an interview with Candace Owens and says this, and I'm quoting here some of it. And there's really kind of 2 questions in one. He says, I came up with 3 vaccines, all very, very good. I came up with 3 of them in less than 9 months. And then Owens replies, and yet more people have died under COVID this year under Joe Biden than under you. And President Trump pushed back and said, no, the vaccine worked. This is quoting, but some people aren't taking it. The ones that get very sick and go to the hospital are the ones that don't take the vaccine, but it's still their choice. Your reaction to what President Trump said in regards to the vaccines are very, very good.
The vaccines all did have some benefit early on, but we didn't learn this until September, October, and November. Our government, and whether it's the Trump administration or the Biden administration, they never gave us a monthly report. They never gave us a monthly report on new treatments, how we're treating the illness. They never gave a monthly report on vaccines. I think Americans have been for the longest time asking, where's the report? How are the vaccines doing? Which ones are working better than others? Who's having side effects and why? We haven't had anything. Zero. I've been waiting. The monthly reports should have started in February. So basically we got to September. We started to see the first analyses that came in showing that those who selected the vaccines did have lower rates of hospitalization. But at the same time, it was always hospitalization where a test was being done. The CDC tells people when they come to the hospital, if they've been vaccinated, don't get a test. But if you're unvaccinated, get a test. In fact, hospitals comply with the CDC. So that means people getting tests before gallbladder surgeries and heart catheterizations. That is really increasing the case count for those people who are unvaccinated. With those stilted numbers, the vaccines basically do have a differential on hospitalization. The paper was by South and colleagues, published in the MMWR protection, certainly at 120 days, above 75% on average, pretty solid. Then 1040, first author, Ivy Network, published in JAMA, hospital, not such a big sample size, but hospitalization data, again, protection against hospitalization of 85%. But of those in the hospital, in the 1040 study, there are vaccinated and unvaccinated individuals. So what people really want to know is, once you get in the hospital, does the vaccine give you any advantage? And the answer is there in 1040 in figure 3 that there was a 59% reduction in the risk of progression of disease. That's good for being vaccinated. And there was a mortality differential, and the number for mortality for the vaccinated was between 6 and 7%, and for the unvaccinated, 8 to 9%. So there is an edge there. But what I'm telling you is that it's not overwhelming. And then in the big study by Combe, that's the hugest study we have in the United States, that's 780,000 veterans of age over 65. Those vaccinated, even if they don't have COVID, have a survival advantage because healthy people take the vaccines. Unhealthy people sometimes don't. Age over 65, there was a 12-point difference in survival between vaccinated and unvaccinated. And so that 12-point absolute number is a big number. However, age under 65, the survival advantage, 1%. 1. And so I can tell you, under age 65, it's really hard to make a case for the vaccine in terms of survival because some patients have actually died after they've taken the vaccine. That's the problem.
Another question I want to ask you is the typical protocol for a vaccine. When, a vaccine is out there, or for that matter, any new drug is out there, and you see flags, you see, consequences that are different than the trials, what normally happens versus what happened with the COVID vaccine?
Normally it's 24 months for a standard vaccine, a live attenuated vaccine or an antigen-based vaccine. These are considered genetic transfer technologies, so these are gene therapy. So they actually have 5 years of a development pathway because we don't know when genetic material is transferred into the body what the side effects are. This was all truncated to 2 months during Operation Warp Speed, so we skipped a lot of the testing. And what happened in the clinical trials is the vaccines did look good. There was 90% protection against COVID-19, the respiratory illness, but it was largely tested in people who weren't challenged by COVID-19, so they didn't get exposed to it, less than 1% in each group, even in the placebo group. But importantly, it was among healthy people. In the J&J program, for instance, 60% of people had no medical problems. Or what are we seeing with the vaccine complications? The vaccine complications are occurring in people who have medical problems. That's the issue. We didn't test it on sick people with medical problems.
But I've heard you say that there should have been some sort of critical analysis of the deaths from the vaccine, even though, obviously percentage-wise, most people will say total amount of vaccines given, total amount of reaction to it within what would be considered the norm for vaccines. I've heard that, but I've also heard you say, wait a minute, if you put a new drug on the market and all of a sudden you see what we saw with the vaccine, you would have said hard stop until we do more study. What are the numbers there?
Well, the way to look at it is before COVID, there's roughly 278 million shots given a year of different vaccines. That's a lot because everybody takes the flu vax. All the healthcare workers take hepatitis B and flu vax. All the kids take vaccines. College kids take meningococcal vaccines. So 278 million. Okay, the number of deaths that we get reported into the U.S. CDC VAERS system, 150. As we sit here today, the number of deaths for COVID-19 vaccines alone, over 20,000. So it's night and day difference. You can't just say, oh, we're giving a lot of vaccines and this is acceptable. It is far over the line. In fact, we surpassed the line January 22nd. We had 182 deaths. We should have had a safety panel, independent safety panel, probably call the program right there, just call it. And say, listen, we have a mortality signal here. We didn't see it out of the clinical trials. Let's study it. Let's figure out who's dying and why, because it's got to be safe for the whole population. We can't just keep going. The outcome of ignoring death back in January was the fact that 20,000 people have lost their life. Half of those are domestic. They're inside the United States.
So, Doctor, help me understand this then, because I don't know your age, but I think you said that you did take the shot. And I think in the Joe Rogan interview, you said that your kids have taken the shot. So now with this information, you just said, hey, below 65, there's only a 1% mortality benefit rate. Did you do that early on? You just thought, hey, this is the right thing to do, or kind of walk us through that decision process?
No, to clarify, what I said is that I took all the vaccines up to before the COVID-19 pandemic on schedule. And my kids took all the vaccines prior to COVID-19 on schedule. Now, I've had COVID-19 like Joe Rogan. So, my situation would be excluded from the clinical trials. The FDA approved clinical trials for Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, and Moderna. They exclude people like me because they know we can't get it again. And they exclude people even who are suspected COVID recovered and those with antibodies. And now our CDC has admitted you can't get it a second time and then pass it to someone else. Now, a lot of people think they have it more than once because now we've learned that the virus, once you have it, stays in your body a very long time. In fact, a paper just came out from the NIH on this, Chertow and colleagues. They found the virus, and it was actually replicating in the human body 230 days since the very first time you got COVID. So no wonder people are intermittently testing positive. They're not getting the infection over and over again. It's just that it takes a long time to get the virus out of the body.
So again, essentially what you're saying is maybe after 230 days, but before that, it's next to impossible to get COVID twice. Yes?
No, well, 230 days is just as long as they looked. Dr. Bruce Patterson has studied this, and he's found the S1 segment of the spike protein out to 15 months.
Yeah.
So I got to tell you, I think everybody thinks they've had it twice. I think they're just getting some residual of this testing. It just happened to my daughter. I mean, she had COVID-19 and she had a cold and she wasn't sure. And, we have elderly people in our house. So she got 3 tests this has just happened. On Tuesday, she was negative. On Wednesday, she was positive. On Thursday, she was negative. And she has a head cold. So by Friday, she just came home and her cold was gone. So did she have COVID?
I thought I'd add to your research. We just had a texter listening sent a note saying, please tell Dr. McCullough I have antibodies after 1 year.
Wow. Dr.
Well,
McCullough.
The point I'm making is that I can tell you, I'm a doctor. I know my daughter well. She did not clinically have COVID-19. She had a false positive test, or it's the residual of the virus in her body, that the test is, in fact, indeed detecting one of the 4 primers that we use in the PCR. But people are not getting serious COVID over and over again. If that was the case, our nursing homes would have cleared out over and over again, and grandmothers would have been and grandfathers would have been on the ventilator 2 and 3 times. It's not happening. So it's largely a one and done situation. People, when they get COVID-19, they need to stop getting testing. It's over with.
Dr. McCullough, I think that headline is so huge that you cannot get COVID twice. I think I know the answer to this, but I want to ask you since you're the expert. So two questions in one. One, is natural immunity better than the vaccine? And if that's true, why is the CDC not monitoring the natural immunity in our nation?
The CDC, I am nearly certain, is looking for a bona fide failure of natural immunity because, they're vaccine stakeholders. They've been told to execute a program for the whole country. They have to be looking far and wide for a bona fide second case. And they indicated when they were put under legal pressure by lead attorney Aaron Siri, they indicated they didn't have a single case, not a single case. The CDC on October 19th reported to America they had over 41,000 full vaccine failures. People who were fully vaccinated, they were well within the period of time to be immunized, and 41,000 either hospitalized or died. And so I can tell you the vaccine, according to the CDC, is failing in large numbers, whereas natural immunity has not failed once, according to the CDC. Wow. So we can look no farther than. So you ask me which one's better? I would take the one where there's 0 recurrence as opposed to 41,000 failures.
I'm going to go a different direction.
Can I just ask one last question? So why are we not then going towards herd immunity? And what does that look like?
Herd immunity, I think we have been at herd immunity for quite some time. Herd immunity just means enough people have gotten COVID-19 that it's just not going to spread in like wildfire. So, we've had football stadiums open for the entire season. We've had schools open for the entire semester. There hasn't been any school outbreaks, no elementary or junior high school outbreaks. There was an outbreak at Duke University, but it was among the vaccinated. There was only a handful of people who were unvaccinated in that outbreak. And now we hear about cases being positive. We don't hear about too many sick people, but cases positive in the NFL and the NHL and some other sports. And I think that's just a product of ramping up the testing. Some of these sports leagues are testing every day. Can you imagine if it's like my daughter that, 1 out of 3 of these are going to be positive? These false positive tests are all over the place. When you test people who don't have COVID and they're asymptomatic, all you do is drive false positive testing.
Well, it might be a monetary factor to that, no? Does somebody get paid for these tests? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think you and I are paying for them.
Yeah, there's another question there. I have a listener question to follow up on Chris's, then I have my own here. Why can't natural immunity be considered for the vaccine pass?
In my view, it should be. Every employer ought to have a checkbox if they have natural immunity. I work for a big practice here in Dallas. That's on all our forms. What's your status? Did you have COVID? It really matters. In this office, we need to know who's had COVID because we can't get it again. If we happen to have a sick patient in here, I know I'm fine. I've been exposed to COVID point blank on making some house calls. People cough in my face, kids all over me, no mask. I can't get it a second time. So my immunity is really an asset to my practice. And those healthcare workers are naturally immune. They're really, in a sense, the vanguard fleet of immune workers. I've told the military, why don't they have a checkbox? And why don't we know which one of our soldiers have natural immunity? That's your Delta force right there. I've told the NFL the same thing. Why don't you make a checkbox on who's naturally immune? You can figure out your practice squads, A team and B team. But they've got to start checking the box. They got to start recognizing who's had COVID-19. Can you believe it? Some of these organizations still don't know. They still don't ask the question. So they're not keeping track of the most important thing, who's had COVID.
Well, again, it's part of the narrative of dismissing anything like the therapies. And I want to ask you about the therapies a little bit here. And that is, you have said, correct me if I'm misstating this at all, but basically the fact that there was a shout down of any therapy from the very beginning of this was criminal. I mean, just all out, it costs lives, right? So that to me is the creepiest thing of this whole thing. Why in the world would we not say, hey, we don't know a lot about this, and if it's working, let's do it. So tell me exactly why you think the therapies were shamed from the very beginning.
Well, the what I call the stakeholders who are the ones who most strongly spoke against treatment, the ones who most strongly said, don't treat patients, you don't have enough evidence, we're not sure if these medicines work. You can go right down the line, the FDA, the CDC, the NIH, the American Medical Association, the Infectious Disease Society of America, American College of Physicians, American College of Pediatrics, all the major health systems. Those individuals who said we don't have enough evidence to treat patients and we should not treat patients, those are the same ones who wildly embrace the vaccine. The two go together. The suppression of early treatment is hand in hand with promoting the vaccine. They're inseparable. And so it does make one wonder if the two are linked. And Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson came to their own conclusions. And if they are linked, and the suppression of early treatment was really a method of promoting the vaccines and getting people to accept the vaccines, then we have absolutely a horrific situation on our hands.
Not only are they, it looks to be obviously linked between those in the medical community you're referring to, big tech and politicians and others were part of that. That's to me the creepiest part of this whole thing. And has there been any data done to say what percentage of those hospitalized had none of those therapies administered? In other words, they're hospitalized, but they weren't able to get ivermectin, or they weren't able to get, HCQ or anything else. Do we know that answer?
I can tell you, looking at the data on hospitalized patients, there was one paper, and the first author was IP and colleagues, published in New Jersey in the first year of the pandemic. And he showed back then, when there actually was a surge in the use of hydroxychloroquine, about 7% of people got some early treatment. Let's say hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, prednisone, aspirin. They got some early treatment. Those individuals had a survival benefit in the hospital. In fact, that had a bigger effect, honestly, than a vaccine would be in terms of survival in the hospital. But that means 93% of people got no treatment whatsoever. Do you know most manuscripts published on hospitalized patients actually indicate no treatment, that they've received no treatment as an outpatient? So I can tell you the majority of patients who end up in the hospital have received either zero outpatient treatment or minimal or insufficient outpatient treatment, and they end up in the hospital. And clearly those who die have been insufficiently treated. If we get enough early treatment in people at home, it can be rough, but we can get through it. Look at Trump. He got antibodies. He got drugs in combination. He made it through it. Governor Abbott, he failed the vaccine. He got early treatment, got through it. Joe Rogan, we went through history. He basically got the McCullough protocol. He got how I drew it up for the world, and he breezed through it. So did Aaron Rodgers. People criticize Aaron Rodgers. I said, listen, Aaron didn't spread it to anybody. He was over it in about 3 days. Now he's got natural immunity. That's his choice. Ben Roethlisberger took the vaccine. He ended up getting spreading event with his dad. He gets COVID anyway. What's the difference?
Doc, 2 more questions and one quick anecdote. We had a gentleman here in Bismarck, North Dakota, went to go see his spouse of 39 years, walked into a hospital, and they patted him down for ivermectin. He was bringing in fentanyl. It was an unbelievable story.
No.
Yeah. It was just so sad.
Make sure he wasn't bringing in something that could save his life. That'd be crazy.
Do you want to?
That's the first time I've heard that, you guys. That's the first time I've heard that. I got to share that with my team. Is that solid? Is that a solid?
I spoke to the gentleman. In fact, we'll send you the interview, but it was at Sanford Bismarck Hospital here in North Dakota, and he talked about ivermectin the night before for his wife. He came in the next day, and they had him get patted down to ensure he wasn't smuggling any ivermectin into the hospital.
And never mind, we just passed a law in North Dakota that said you can use ivermectin and you can't be prevented from trying it. So,
Doc, two quick questions, sir, because we want to respect your time. One is, do you believe kids 5 through 12 should take this shot?
No, I think really a careful review of this. And Tracy Hogue has published this from UC Davis, and now I think she's a lead witness in several key trials. She's shown that the vaccine causes more heart damage and will have the kids be more likely to be hospitalized with heart damage than ever getting sick with COVID-19 and get COVID-19. The kids, my estimate right now is I think about 80% of children have already been through COVID-19. That's the reason why we don't see any outbreaks. So it doesn't make any sense to vaccinate all the children and risk all this heart damage. When the CDC reviewed this, in June, there was 200 cases of heart damage. 90% of the kids were hospitalized. They were injured. Now we've got 16,000 in this CDC report, and it's going to keep going. If the kids keep vaccinating, more kids will be damaged. What we don't know is how many kids are left with permanent heart damage. And my estimate from a paper published before COVID by Teshope and colleagues suggests probably 13% of the kids are going to be permanently damaged with heart damage. They're not the same. And so, no, it's too high. That's too high. I'd call it right here. Many other countries have said, listen, let's not do it.
If you're just joining us, this is Dr. Peter McCullough, is recently on the Joe Rogan podcast, been seen and listened to by millions and millions of people. Dr. McCullough, we want to be respectful of your time. I know you told us 5. Are you okay if we keep you for a few extra minutes?
No, I have to finish, you guys. I'm still in the hospital. So one more question.
Thank you.
All right. I have a question for you. You're widely quoted, and we have a mantra here to question everything. So, and everything you've been quoted in, what resources, what books would you suggest that people follow to know the truth in this battle?
Well, there's an aptly named foundation. It's called the Truth for Health Foundation. I'm the voluntary chief medical advisor, truthforhealth.org. There's the downloadable home treatment guides, information about the vaccines, what to do about vaccine injuries. It's a very useful site. I would say for kind of physician listing, go to the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons. They're the lead treating organization in the United States, aapsonline.org. A lot of advocacy things going on there. For general information, once a week, go to America Out Loud Talk Radio, the McCullough Report, and I give a report to the nation. I'm going to work on my report on the plane ride up to New York here in a little bit, and I give America really the rundown. And there's so much breaking news. Everything's cited, everything's factual, and I want everyone to understand that everything in medicine, everything in science, we weigh out risks and benefits. We discuss things. No two doctors agree. We go through a process of scientific interchange, and patients go through a process of discernment. That's okay. No one can tell somebody else, here, just take it and don't ask any questions. And I think that's what has got America going, is Americans want to be patriotic. They want to do the right thing, but they also understand that there's risks to benefits to everything, and they want a fair discussion.
Dr. McCullough, thank you so much for your time, sir. I want you to know all of us here are praying for you to continue to have the courage to stand up and tell the truth. And we want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a blessed and prosperous 2022, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. We'd love to have you back. We can have you back. So would that
Okay,
work?
let's do it.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Peter McCullough, absolutely just phenomenal conversation. Scott Hennon, you've done probably in your lifetime, I don't know, 1 million interviews. I mean, what was your greatest takeaway from that?
My greatest takeaway is the fact that typically at about 150 deaths, there'd be a red flag. And we were at 150 deaths, what do you say, 3 months into the vaccine? Was it 3 months or was it sooner? I forget. It was very quickly. And now we're at 20,000. And at 150 is normally where the medical community would say, hard stop, something's not right here, got to reset. And we just kept plowing into it, So that really blows me away. You can't get COVID twice is another headline.
Ooh, that's a big one. That's what I was just going to ask you. I want to get your take on the fact that the CDC isn't even monitoring, isn't even keeping track of people that have got natural immunity in our country, and yet they're slamming down mandates and everything else.
And, again, there has been a very creepy, and I would say flat out evil, silencing of any questioning. Any people that say, well, I don't know, I have natural immunity. Should I still do this? Whatever. Canceled, shut down. A big tech is putting their thumb on you. You're shamed at work, and you look at his numbers. Just on, again, and I learned something today because I've been told many times, look, all the total number of vaccines versus the total amount of severe reactions perfectly within the track of normal. He said that's exactly not true. That if you take all the vaccines, that the deaths would be way below what they are. So, again, why can't we just have a factual discussion to say, okay, here's what one person says, here's what another says, what do we think is the best? You can't right now, and that's wrong.
One last thing, and then we'll wrap it up here, but I think it's really critically important that people understand the value of having natural immunity, Scott. The second thing is the fact that he talked about, especially in the Joe Rogan interview, he made it very clear that of the 800,000 deaths that we've suffered in the United States of America from COVID, not one of them had early treatment. Thus, if any of them would have had early treatment, we potentially could have saved the lives of 800,000 Americans. And yet, in a certain hospital in the state of North Dakota, people are being patted down for ivermectin. So,
Yeah, and he was piqued by that story.
He was like, wait, what?
Yeah, and we were tipped to that story by a state legislature who called Governor Berg on the air, and Chris followed up, had him on the air. The other thing I was going to tell you, we're going to have Todd Schaefer on tomorrow, and Dr. Schaefer is the head of Bismarck Sanford Health, the West Division of Sanford Health. So people understand how to deal with this at Christmas time because, again, with all the fear factor being peddled, there's a lot of concern out there. And so the facts, they have, I think, 12 people in the hospital in Bismarck right now. Steve Hallstrom just did an analysis and has been tracking this since September. And you have the total amount of deaths of people that have died with the virus, the number of people currently in the ICU and the number hospitalized. And those numbers, in a very good trend. Good on hospitalizations and ICUs, but nobody really seems to be reporting this. I don't know why. These trends are not reported. So you look at the numbers where we're at today in total compared to, for instance, there is a real decrease going on right now. What's interesting, in the time we didn't have, I wanted to ask him about Omicron. And if it isn't the herd immunity that we've looked for, because the cases can go up, but if the hospitalizations go down, this is what we call, good is the wrong word because there's nothing good in a virus that kills people, but is the right kind of trend, is a hopeful trend to what's happening here to say this is exactly, and it's being used for the exact opposite reason. Might that be because of 2022? Might that be because of politics? Probably. There's some creepy, the stuff that Joe Biden is saying is in my mind criminal. He's not a doctor and he's on television telling people, look, if you don't get it, you're risking serious illness. Well, he just told us 20,000 people died from the vaccine, so there's serious illness that can come to you from the vaccine as well.
Well, not only that, he said that natural immunity is by far and away better than the vaccine, and the CDC is not even tracking natural immunity. When you want to go out and talk about the percentage of people that have been vaccinated, and when you have a president of the United States, folks, and we're going to wrap it up here, walk in front of a mic on September 9th and does a national address and says, hey, I understand, folks, why you're mad at these 80 million rubes that aren't getting vaccinated. I completely agree with you. I get it. That is one of the most divisive and horrific speeches I've ever seen from a president of the United States when we were told from him he was going to be a uniter. And so two things I want to leave you with. Number one, you just heard Dr. Peter McCullough. Scott said one of the most published, if not the most published authors, maybe in the history of the medical field, saying,
on
hey,
heart and lung. Yep.
Make sure that you are doing a lot of research before you stick a needle in your son or daughter if they're 5 to 12. So please, we've been talking about this before. What we've said about they're coming for your kids, do your own research, get a good relationship with your doctor, because I'm going to touch on this in a moment, but just think critically before you take that action. You heard him mention there, we didn't get a chance to follow up, but he said, basically, Chris, what we're doing is we're dumping genetics inside of our bodies, and we don't even know the impact. We don't know if that's changing the genetics inside our bodies, if it will over long term or not. The second thing is that he mentioned about the impact of treatments. And that if you can just get yourself some treatments and put yourself on a powerful treatment protocol, the impact that can have on your overall health and well-being and keep you out of a hospital, keep you alive, is dramatic. And so one of the things I would encourage us to do, we talk about it here in the show, but that's the power of being free, is empower yourself around your own health. Do not let big pharma and these magic pills run your life. No longer give them that power, because right now, if you look at our nation, we're being run by pharma fascists.
Well,
is that hyperbole or no?
We're being run by fear. And it's come not only from pharma fascists, it's coming from politicians with a different agenda. And fear is no way to make a decision. Name me anybody that makes a good decision when you're in the middle of you must, you shall, you will. Come on. This is ridiculous. The fear that is being peddled is evil. Flat out, simple, evil. It's very plain. It's very black and white. And the more we question everything, the more we use some critical thinking skills, the less we'll have just people following people over the cliff, because that's the direction people are going.
Yes. So do what you got to do to take care of, manage your own health, get rest, exercise, take your vitamins, vitamin D, vitamin C. The other thing, and Scott is exactly right. Here on the show, here in our community, we don't give into a spirit of fear. We are of love, power, and a sound mind. And I always want to bring in the sound mind piece, because that's the piece that you and I both know is missing today. So if you can go out and be a model of peace and love and a sound mind, we plant those seeds. And as Scott just said earlier in the show down in Arizona, it was all about overcoming evil with good. We plant seeds of love, power, and a sound mind. We overcome this evil with good, and we win. So everybody, thanks so much for joining us here today. Absolutely just incredible conversation with Dr. Peter McCullough. I am heading out for the holidays. We've got Dr. Jake Schmidt sitting in for me next week, which should be some other fascinating conversations. Scott, Steve's in studio as well. We love you guys. Merry Christmas to you both.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to the audience. Really take some time to enjoy your family and plant those seeds of faith, hope, and love when you're around these people, so that we can come out into 2022 and just have it be different. Have it be different.
There you go.
We love you tons. God bless. Have a great holiday. We'll see you back here again in 2022.
Your farm and business depends on a reliable source for energy. PetroServe USA is the customer-owned co-op committed to being a stable source of fuel for your equipment and propane to dry your grain. We have the capacity to make sure you never run out of fuel and to keep prices stable. Dependability, competitive prices, and exemplary service. That's PetroServe USA, helping America fuel better.
PetroServe USA.
Call today